I read my husband's journal, and in it, he says that he hates me and hopes I die. Plus, all updates. My husband has kept a semi-regular journal throughout our 4-year relationship. He does not keep it hidden, and up until now, I have always respected his privacy. We had a heated conversation, and my gut told me to read it, so after he left for work, I did. He wrote several times that he hates me, and at one point he said when I was sick, he hoped I would die. When I read those words, I packed up me and our baby and went to a friend's where I'm staying now. I took pictures of all the pages. I told him I just need some space to cool off after our conversation, and I will be home soon. I booked with my therapist and contacted a lawyer. We had a rough patch recently that lasted about 2 weeks. It was a dark time, but we pulled through. There was no violence, no moments where I was afraid of him, just sincere conversations about difficult feelings. The notes of hatred correspond with that rough patch. The rest of the journal is tame and reflects the man I know and love. Mostly little self-pep talks around work and family stuff, goals, habit tracking. He has sent me several warm messages since I left. He says he's glad I'm taking space for myself, that he looks forward to reconnecting when I come home. It's okay to have little hiccups, that he loves me, etc. I was sure our relationship was over the moment I read that he hates me, or even the moment I felt the need to violate his privacy. But the warm messages and the rest of the journal have me wavering a little. I understand the need to blow off steam when things are tense, and journaling is a healthy way to do that. But never in even our darkest moments have I fantasized about his death. Splitting up, maybe. But this feels so sinister. I don't know how I could ever feel safe around him again. Is this just healthy venting and I'm overreacting here? Has anyone else had similar thoughts about a spouse that they then got over? Or is this a man I need to protect myself and my baby from? Edit to add context. The rough patch was about his feelings for another woman. He didn't cheat, but his friendship with her makes me uncomfortable. The part of the journal where he says he hates me was written as a love letter to her. He says he thinks about me dying and being replaced. Update. I hope I'm doing this right. Thank you so much for all the advice and words of encouragement. Some of it was tough to read, but still deeply appreciated. Wanted to do an update because a lot of people were concerned for my safety. I took a commenter's advice and sent the pictures to a trusted friend. She pointed out that a passage I initially read as, "Every day I think about telling her," actually very clearly says killing her. I guess my brain couldn't comprehend that at first. I received a ton of helpful perspective and support, but that comment in particular might have saved my life. After I digested that, I called a crisis line, and they were quite helpful in talking me through the shock. They also put me in touch with a center that's helping me get more affordable legal help. Bought some more time from my husband, told him I'm enjoying getting out of town and I'd like to stay an extra night or two. I have therapy tomorrow and an appointment with a social worker to make a safety plan. I feel like I have a good crew of family, friends, and professionals supporting me. Absolutely zero regrets now about reading his journal. My gut told me something was off, but I couldn't have imagined a worst-case scenario as bad as this. I'm so glad the inner alarm bells were louder than my conscience this time. Nothing about this marriage is worth risking my life to salvage. Final update. Just want to say a huge thank you to this community for helping me through a challenging time. Your comments and messages have been such a comfort, and I'm so touched by the kindness of internet strangers. At the suggestion of the social worker, I reported his journal to the local police, and that was, unsurprisingly, a 110 experience. The officer I spoke to chided me for reading his journal, spoke about his reasonable expectation of privacy, and basically threatened to tell my husband I had reported him. I had to firmly advocate for myself and stress that I was afraid for my life. It was an awful conversation, but now there is at least a record which includes photos of the journal. The family lawyer I spoke with advised me to file a protection order right away. The order would ban him from all contact with me and our child, bar him from our residence, my workplace, and any other places I request. He would then have to prove to a judge that he is a fit parent to be able to see his daughter again, and then we would go to mediation to try and agree on what visitation would look like. Another wrench in this situation is that we own a business together. I have an appointment with another lawyer this week to discuss what my options are there. The business was my idea. I'm confident I can run it without him, and I want to. But he's put a lot of time into it, and it's the main source of income for both of us right now. It's a good moneymaker, and I'm worried he'd fight me tooth and nail on this. We take turns going in, so I went as usual on Saturday, with a friend and a baseball bat. I continued my act of intending to reconcile, doing video calls with the baby, etc. While I was at our workplace, I found another journal. Page after page love letters to this other woman going back months. The progression from "I liked seeing you at the grocery store" to "I drove past your house today" was wild. He writes about how he's deeply in love with her, can't wait to marry her, etc. He wrote about every interaction he's ever had with her, and the poor woman seems completely innocent and oblivious. Even what he perceived as flirting seems like basic politeness. He mentions a few other times that he wants me to die. The most recent entry was from the day before. He writes to her that he thinks I might be breaking up with him, but that's fine because he never liked me that much anyway. If he's upset about anything, it's just about losing the house and how the breakup will be perceived by our friends and community. Curious if people think I should warn the other woman. It's my instinct not to, at least not before the ink dries on our impending paperwork. I was already concerned about how he might react to being served with the protection order, most worried that he might try to sabotage our business or trash the house. Given how preoccupied he seems to be with his public image, I made a plan to confront him about the journals and use the protection order as leverage. Here's how it went down. I left the journal and my baby with my friend and went to our house with 2 trusted male friends and the baseball bat. They waited on our porch. I told my husband that if they heard anything louder than a speaking voice, they would come in with the bat. I told him I had to tell him something he wouldn't like to hear, and he needed to know that I had already taken steps to protect myself. I told him I read the journals, specifically what he said about wanting me to die and thinking every day about killing me. I said I had taken photos, that they are backed up, and a trusted source also has copies. That I also have the original copy of the journal full of love letters. I wondered until this moment if he had intended for me to find them, but he was obviously blindsided. He tried to say it was just venting, but I told him I would not be taking any chances or entertaining anything he has to say about it. That after reading what I read, I will never trust him or feel safe around him ever again. I told him that no one that knows him knows about this yet. The men on the porch just know that I'm breaking up with him and need support. This was true, aside from the friend that I called to stay with and the other friend I sent the photos to, who lives on the other side of the country. I said I am willing to protect his reputation here if he cooperates with me. I told him that I don't even have to ruin his chances with the other woman, but I can. I said that he can either do what I need to feel safe, or I can have that safety court ordered. He asked what I wanted, and I said I wanted him to give up the business. We'll sort out the details after I speak to the other lawyer, but for now I want his keys and I'll be changing the passwords on everything. He didn't put up any kind of fight. He didn't want to hear anything about what it would look like to go through the courts. He didn't ask about our baby. He just calmly got up and got the keys and asked if I wanted anything else. I told him that any communication with me should be about separation logistics only, like arranging a time for me to collect the rest of my things. Since then, he has been blowing up my phone, saying I know his heart, let's walk back from the edge, let's talk to a therapist, he's sorry his words hurt me, etc. Each time I just tell him he's crossing my boundaries and he backs off. He apparently told his mom and sister everything, and they're supporting him in getting help. He's been cooperative so far. He's interviewing for a new job, seeing a therapist, and updating me on his movements. Though I didn't ask for this. I've temporarily moved in with my parents. My commute to work is longer, but I have help with baby and home-cooked dinners. Starting to settle into new routines, doing so much therapy and yoga. I inherited a small cabin before my husband and I met. It is currently being renovated, and the original plan was to move in there with my husband and baby when it's done. The cabin is actually in my mother's name because she's never trusted my husband, correct, and wanted me to shield it from him in case of a divorce. Thank you, Mom. So I will have a permanent home for me and baby very soon. The dust still needs to settle, and it could get worse before it gets better, but I'm optimistic at this point. I'm confident I'm going to come out the other side of this as a badass single mom with an incredible child, a thriving business, and an adorable little home. Honestly, the thought of having all those things on my own without my husband is so freeing. I've got a great village supporting me. Thank you all so much for being part of it. What do you guys think? Let's discuss in the comments. Follow and like for more stories.